everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And I am thrilled to be here with you once again for another installment of Exploring the Warner Archive. Now, this is one of my favorite series because I get to dive deep into the vast Warner Archive catalog. There are so many great releases that there's new releases every month, but there's a lot of great older releases, and I like to spotlight a bit of both of them just so there may have been things before you started collecting Warner Archive that you may have missed out on, and I want to put a spotlight back on that so the really great items do not get overlooked. And this month, it's a very animation-heavy month, and for a very special reason. I'm going to go over a few new titles, some old titles, and just a nice array of stuff. So I'm going to dig right into the star of this video, I would say, because there are 10 movies in this set. I'm not going to get super detailed into each one of them, but I teased this last installment. This is Hanna-Barbera Superstars 10, which is pretty much a dream release for me. I love Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and to have 10 of their features in one set in HD is great. So we got Yogi Bear's Great Escape, Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers, the Jetsons Meet the Flintstones, Yogi and the Magical Spruce Goose, and Top Cat, and the Beverly Hills Cats for the first 5, and then the second 5, here we got part 2. We have The Good, the Bad, and the Huckleberry Hound, Rockin' with Judy Jetson, Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, yes, Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, and Yogi and the Invasion of the Space Bears, yes, good job, memory. So these 10 films that you could also, just FYI, if you want to own just a few of these, or if you're really a sucker for cover art, you can buy each of these individually, and they each have their own like specialized cover art individually, but this is the most cost-efficient way to get all 10. I believe if you purchase right now, they average out to about $6 per title, which is a steal. But this is a fantastic set. I'll kind of give an overview of the titles, pretty much broken down by character. So you have some titles here, like you have the main players, like your Scooby-Doo films, which of course he's the star, but so you have a couple good installments here, including Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers, which arguably I would say is the strongest one. It's some good ghostly fun, but then also the Ghoul School. I like how it kind of incorporates some of the famous like monster tropes, but like brings like the kid version of them, because they're teaching at like a girls' school, but it's a ghoul school, so it's like the daughters of famous monsters, and how they kind of mentor these different girls, and how it kind of culminates in this interesting party atmosphere that there's some shenanigans goes on. And then the Reluctant Werewolf is Dracula gets involved, and Shaggy maybe turning into the new like Wolfman. There's all kind of shenanigans, but all 3 of these are pretty fun. In terms of other top tier characters, you got the Flintstones Meet the Jetsons, which is the Flintstones swaps places with the Jetsons and vice versa, and seeing each of them through technology, of course, on the Jetsons side, seeing each of them trying to like live in the other's time periods, and it's a pretty fun time. There's also another Jetsons, the Rockin' with Judy Jetson, where Judy Jetson gets and she ends up singing this this witch's enchantment, and things go awry, but it's basically her trying to like potentially flirting with superstardom, and it's very music driven and pretty fun. And then there's several Yogi Bear movies, as I talked about here. My favorite is the Flight of the Magical Spruce Goose, which Yogi Bear is a character who is very repetitious in a lot of the ways. I love him, but just you can usually expect him to be trying to steal picnic baskets and like going on adventures with Boo Boo. But what I really like about pretty much all three of these movies is that he gets a lot of the other like side characters from the Hanna-Barbera universe involved in his work. So you get like Huckleberry Hound, Quick Draw McGraw. My favorite discovery of this set, I'd seen him before, but I never really appreciated him, is Snagglepuss, who is just everything he was saying had me dying. He's just like, he seems to be like coded as like a catty gay man, and it was great. But he, just the way he would speak in like repetition, but just like changing up slight variations of words was great. So I really like the Yogi Bear movies. The Invasion of the Space Bears is, of course, some alien technology is involved, and Ranger Rick is getting very frustrated by these multiple Yogis and Boo Boos that are around him. And then Yogi's Big Break, or Yogi's Great Escape, just involves another kind of like road trip with like these three little bears that he kind of adopts. I think some of the more interesting ones are the one-offs, like the Huckleberry Hound, like The Good, the Bad, and the Huckleberry Hound is kind of like your standard Old West formula, but with Huckleberry Hound is kind of like the man with no name, the mysterious stranger, the Clint Eastwood character that kind of roams into town and kind of gets it mixed up into some mess. But it's a really fun take on a Western because you have Huckleberry Hound at the top. And then the Top Cat movie is also very fun. It involves these alley cats getting, one of them gets left an exorbitant amount of money by this wealthy heiress who through means, I won't go into it, but it's these cats live in the lavish lifestyle while the people who think they deserve the inheritance trying to take it away from them. I think that kind of overall tops us off. But each of these 10 movies, whether they're the A+ characters or kind of some of the more hidden gems, they're all a lot of fun. And yes, these movies, being feature length, being 90 minutes, there is quite a bit of padding at moments. So yeah, there are moments where you start to feel the length a little bit, but whenever it's working, they're working very well, and they're a lot of fun. And it's just, if you have that nostalgia for like the Saturday morning cartoon era or just anything, if you just want that, this really delivers on everything you could possibly want from this. Are they the best representations of these characters ever? No. Probably the individual series are. But to have this part of their history in HD is just a gift to me, and I'm so grateful. So much fun. How did they look? Mostly great. I would say 8 out of 10 look fantastic. None of these look as good as Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, which was released last year, which was from a 4K scan of the original camera negative. There's no indication of the source that these new remasters were derived from. I just know that 8 of these films, and I would say the other 2 that are not, look really great in HD. Maybe just a little bit of like digital enhancement here and there, like maybe a little smoothing. But overall, it seems to be quite of a natural feel, and it looks really vibrant colors, looks fantastic. The 2 that do not look great is there are messages that are like warnings on screen that from Warner Archives saying they did the best they could, and I will kind of explain that. That is the last 2 I featured Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf and Yogi and the Invasion of the Space Bears. And these both were created at a time where studios were trying to cut back as much as possible. They weren't forward thinking into preservation efforts or releasing these films on like home entertainment, especially not HD Blu-ray. They did not have that in mind. They did not really care. So this was an early form of animation digital animation called digital ink and paint. So there are no film elements at all for them to work off of. And these are all upscaled from a standard definition source into an HD presentation. It's not perfect. It's not even great, like good. It's the best it can look, which is really all I can ask for. Just know that watching these will not be anywhere close to the other 8 features, but this isn't just a cash grab to make you not feel like you're being ripped off. Both of those discs that are from the lower source do include an additional feature that does look fantastic. These are all both specials that run about 50 minutes long. So in the case of the Reluctant Werewolf, there is a special called Scooby Goes to Hollywood. I believe it's from the 1970s. And it is what it sounds. It is Scoob and the gang in Hollywood and trying to make it there, but then also kind of getting into some mess in their own. And this has also been restored. It looks fantastic. It's amazing. And then the Invasion of the Space Bears, that has an additional 50-minute short that it's Yogi's Lark Arc. It is kind of a interestingly a special devoted to environmentalism and conservation efforts, while also being just Scoob and the gang and like various special friends getting in, like going on this arc, like this flying thing, and kind of going around getting into some adventures. So those 2 films, they do not look very good, but they look passable. They look the best they can, and you get those additional shorts that do look really great. So for the price, and to just have these in the best presentation, I can kind of forgive some slight variations, because they did everything they could at Warner Archive. So that being said, Hanna-Barbera's Superstars 10 is a fantastic set. Pick up what you want, pick them up individually, get them all individually, or get them in this set. I think they should all be owned. I enjoyed every single one of them, and if you are a Hanna-Barbera fan, I don't think you'll just want to skip out on these. And as an extra incentive to get this set, or any of the, like all of them, buying these will kind of show to Warner Archive and Warner that we do want classic animation and even modern animation on Blu-ray. So just vote with your dollars. If you want these, make sure you're picking up a set. I'll probably like picking up some sets as gifts, just to try to like spread the joy and just like show my appreciation for them putting so much care into this, because I want all these Cartoon Network shows. I want more Hanna-Barbera stuff. I want it all. So I'm greedy and I want it all. And it's a beautiful set. I was so jazzed. I decided to return to another Warner Archive release. This is actually a re-release. They did not do the first release of this, but I'll explain. This is the Tom and Jerry Collection Volume 1. This was originally released, I believe, in 2011. And to date, this is the only volume that has been released. There's a lot of controversial reasons as to why the second volume was never released. Go search down the Blu-ray.com forum and just read like 80 pages of discussions if you want to get into it. But there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. But Warner Archive re-released this after years of it being out of print. I believe that in 2020 they re-released this, so people wouldn't have to pay exorbitant eBay prices. They could finally get this released once again. Now, this being from 2011 and being before the Warner Archive started being released on Blu-ray, this isn't up to the high level of quality that you might expect from the Warner Archive, but they look very nice from the Warner Home Video restoration team. It looks, there's 35 shorts on here, or 37 shorts on here, and they've been remastered. They look quite nice, and it's Tom and Jerry. You know what you're getting into, but there's some classic, like A Night Before Christmas one. There is like an opera, I believe it's Cat Concerto. Those are a couple of my favorites, but there's a lot of really great shorts here. And if you're a Tom and Jerry fan, you've been probably, if you've heard me talking about any of these Warner Archive releases over the past few years, they've been including 1 or 2 Tom and Jerry shorts every so often on some of their releases in beautiful HD. So that's been the most like new Tom and Jerry in HD content. But if you want to go back and get more of like a concentrated release, this is the one to get. And it also has a nice amount of special features. There are 12 commentary tracks. There is a 40-minute documentary, a retrospective that runs about 30 minutes, several featurettes, including some fun like stars dropping by to talk about what like Tom and Jerry meant to their own comedy careers and everything. So in addition to the shorts, you get a lot of really good special features. So if you were one of the people who never picked it up upon its original release, it has been re-released by Warner Archives, so Tom and Jerry Volume 1, the Golden Collection. I hope there's eventually a Volume 2, but Volume 1 is around, and it's good to have as much Tom and Jerry as possible. I have one more animated show to kind of like ease us out of the world of animation. I had such fun talking about Batman Brave and the Bold last time. I decided to stick in that DC universe, and I decided to pick up Green Lantern, the animated series, which is a 3D animated show that ran one season, and partially because of the lackluster response to the Ryan Reynolds movies, it was canceled after a season. I guess they didn't think that they could, that this series hit its ceiling, and it probably wasn't doing very well. But that's a shame. Although I'm not a huge fan of 3D anime, like as big of a fan of 3D animation whenever I can get 2D animation. This actually is a really cool show, and it does a lot of fun things. And I do love the character of Green Lantern. He is one that doesn't get as much shine as like your Batmans and Supermans, or I would say even the Flash. But Green Lantern on this, it almost it assumes that maybe you've watched the movie or you know the Green Lantern lore, because it drops you right in with Hal Jordan, kind of like he's already has his ring and powers and stuff, and he gets called into like his intergalactic goings on, and it almost becomes similar to a Star Trek format, where he gets in league with like this crew of various races and alien races and members of the Green Lantern Corps, and it turns into kind of a mission of the week type thing with an overarching arc. Like the first pretty much 13 episode arc is like a looming Red Lantern menace happening, and then there's like an antimatter villain in the second half. There are 26 episodes that comprise the entire season or series, and so you get 13 on each disc, which is quite a few episodes, but even with there being so many, none of these episodes look overly compressed. It actually turns out to look very nice. Maybe I would have spread it out to 3 or 4 discs, but they look nice as is. Very vibrant colors. The 3D animation renders very well. You don't see any jagged lines or anything. If you're a DC fan, if you're a Green Lantern fan, it's good to have this series on Blu-ray. It looks very nice. There are no special features, but it looks good. It sounds good with the DTS 2.0 audio. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you haven't picked it up yet. Going back to a release that actually came out in January, which was the last slate of new releases, is one I didn't get to cover on the last show, but is very much worth a spotlight. This is the Marx Brothers' A Day at the Races, which I love the Marx Brothers here. They're one of the great comedy groups, and this one's a pretty solid effort. It's not my absolute favorite Marx Brothers, but it is very funny. It is the Marx Brothers at a racetrack. Groucho is playing Dr. Hackenbush. Chico is he plays a vendor, like a salesman, like of Tootsie Frutti ice cream, which involves culminates in one of the best gags of the movie is him and Groucho trying to get a hot tip from Chico, and it kind of like progressing of him having to buy more things to like decipher the things that he just bought, and it continually escalates. It's a very funny bit, and it's just one of the many funny moments in this. Some good moments with Harpo as well. One of the things I wasn't expecting with this one is there's quite a bit of content away from the Marx Brothers trio, including just like some musical numbers that I didn't quite expect, and I didn't love. They were entertaining enough, but I kind of just, it made me a little bit antsy, and I wanted to get back to kind of the funny moments. So some of the non-comedic moments don't completely like blow me away. It's still a very good movie, and it doesn't like, it's not it's an hour and 51 minutes, so maybe if they would have made it an hour and a half, it would have flowed a little bit better. But I know they wanted to make this more of like a grand spectacle for audiences, which it to mixed results. But overall, it is a good, it's a Marx Brothers movie, so it's pretty funny. It's just not their absolute best, but this restoration looks very nice. This comes from a 4K restoration of a second generation preservation elements. This looks very nice. The grain resolves very well. It is very nice, firm contrast, no density fluctuations. It's just a very, very beautiful picture. And this has a good number of special features ported over. There is a commentary track that is ported over. There is a 28-minute featurette on the Marx Brothers. There's various cartoons. There's various audio treasures, including different outtakes and radio shows and stuff. So if you are Marx Brothers fans, this is essential. I hope they keep rounding out all of their Marx Brothers stuff in HD that they have. But so far, what they've released is very good so far. So A Day at the Races, a good release. It's a recent one, so pick it up if you haven't yet. They're great. My final title is a little bit of an older title, but it is worth spotlighting, especially after talking about the musical numbers in A Day at the Races. Here's some proper musical numbers. This is Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. This is one that I've been wanting to watch for quite a while because it was a Best Picture nominee. And just with the title like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, I had to see if it was going to be as cringeworthy as I thought it was going to be. And to some extent it is. But it actually has more heart than I expected. The Howard Keel character at the beginning, he kind of just... He comes into town, he's like kind of a mountain man with a bunch of brothers who comes into town and just says like he wants a wife. He wants someone to basically take care of his brood, like his brothers and stuff, and the house. And he's just looking for the right woman. And then in comes Jane Powell. He kind of like witnesses, she's a bit of a brassy lady who can kind of hold her own, but he kind of is instantly drawn to her, and somehow he convinces her to marry him and kind of go off with him. And then she is very surprised whenever she gets home and sees all the rest of the six brothers. I think he is one of the brothers. So 6 brothers who are waiting for them at home. She kind of whips them into shape and like kind of makes them presentable men. But then them seeing their brother domesticated and like having this lovely wife, they want their own wives, and they don't really understand how to do that. And they go to their brother for advice, and of course he's a dumbass, and he gives the worst advice, which is basically don't listen to a woman when they protest no, just kind of like go after them and they'll fall in love with you eventually. It's very cringeworthy, but it kind of backfires against them to a point. The ending I did not quite like. I wish they would have done differently, especially just in retrospective. I was like, oof. But I do like that they try to have like some agency about, like, the women have a little bit of agency to them to a point, like I said. And the movie does pretty much condemn what these men are doing. But throughout, there's all kinds of things going on. Really great musical numbers, some very catchy things that have been caught in my head for a while. My favorite sequence was this barn raising sequence, which includes some fantastic dancing numbers and just like acrobatics and all kinds of stuff. It's blew my mind. I loved it. I was so excited. This was such a fun time. I could imagine why audiences went crazy for this back in the day, just because, yes, we've seen a lot of really cool musical numbers, but there was just something about the audaciousness of this. Yeah, there's been some more, like Fred Astaire and other people have done some more impressive stuff, like Busby Berkeley stuff. But just some of the acrobatics on display in here was very cool. And there's some good comedy in here. A lot of great actors and actresses, like a deep well. No, there's more than just Howard Keel and Jane Powell. But overall, if you like musicals and you're okay with a little bit of cringeworthy, like dated, like gender politics, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers is a pretty fun one. And this release is pretty, this has a really interesting backstory into how this was preserved. These had horrible preservation elements for years and years until like one day, I believe about 15 or 20 years ago, they found an untouched interpositive, just kind of like, I think it was just like in a barn or something, somewhere, and people discovered it and kind of donated it. And having the original camera negative is long gone, but having an untouched interpositive is pretty much your next best thing. And the fact that they could like do their magic on this, I love this story. I love that this, like, it looked awful for years and years, but now they were able to restore it, and it looks very nice. This was one of the earlier side of the Warner Archive Blu-ray releases, but it still holds up even all these years later. And there are two versions of this. You may have seen that I have two discs. The first disc is the original CinemaScope version, which I believe is 2.55 by 1. And then you have the widescreen version on disc 2, which I believe is 1.78 by 1. The widescreen version on disc 2 is more of a curiosity type of thing. It has not been as lovingly restored as the CinemaScope version. It still looks nice in HD, but there are some more like age-related like nicks and scratches here that weren't quite as meticulously cleaned up as the primary version of it. So you get to your option to watch which version you want. The bonus widescreen version is in DTS 2.0. The main version in CinemaScope is DTS 5.1. It sounds really robust and like really nice in the surround sound with these musical numbers. It's very immersive and looks very nice, or sounds very nice. There's also a good number of special features, including a commentary track, a 44-minute retrospective documentary, and some newsreels, some shorts. It's a really nice release for a Best Picture nominee, and it was a fun discovery. I'm glad that I got to check it out. So, not quite as many individual titles as normal, but since there's a 10-film set, I thought that kind of took care of us. But a good slate of titles. If you are a fan of Warner Archive, all of these are pretty solid. So thank you for joining me in the Warner Archive, exploring all of what they have. I always enjoy these videos. I like pulling out all the like hidden gems that maybe people haven't seen. But if you like this, please let me know in the comments. Let someone you know that you think would like this let them know about the video. Make sure they are getting all these classics on Blu-ray as well. Let me know what you want me to talk about in the future. Maybe I already have it, or maybe I could pick it up. I would love to just talk about anything that you think you would want to hear about on the show. But until next time, make sure you're tuning into our normal Video Addict series that we talk about like a wide range of new releases. But I will be back exploring the Warner Archive soon. But until next time, enjoy these movies.